Kick over and out.
That's the power.
The power of Alex Pereira on full display.
Alex Poatan is a Brazilian fighter who redefined the UFC landscape with his meteoric rise and impressive knockout power. Coming from a humble childhood in the countryside of São Paulo, he first made his mark in kickboxing, where he became a world champion before making an explosive transition to MMA. With his precise technique and raw strength, Poatan quickly became a threat in the octagon, shocking opponents and fans by capturing the championship belt in record time. Poatan's story is one of overcoming obstacles and defying expectations. Despite having little experience in MMA, he faced and defeated seasoned fighters with unwavering confidence and devastating strikes. His calm and focus contrast with the intensity of his fights, where he proves that determination and courage are as lethal as any strategy. Poatan didn't just win, he defied logic and left his mark on UFC history. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because we'll talk more about this next. Childhood and youth. Alex Pereira, better known as Alex Poatan, was born on July 7, 1987, in São Bernardo do Campo, São Paulo, but grew up in the humble Jardim Silvina neighborhood. The son of a large family, Alex has indigenous ancestry from the Pataxó tribe, something that would later become part of his identity as a fighter through the nickname Poatan, which means stone hand in the language of his ancestors. His parents were hard-working individuals. His father worked as a bricklayer, while his mother was a homemaker, and together they struggled to provide for Alex and his 5 siblings. Alex's childhood was marked by financial hardships and limitations, typical of many families in underprivileged areas. At school, he did not stand out. The academic environment never motivated him, and he dropped out at a young age, at just 12 years old, to help support his family. He worked in a mechanic's shop, where he faced the harsh realities of adult life early on. During this time, Alex began seeking outlets to escape his difficult routine, which led him to alcohol, a problem that would later challenge him. The turning point came when a co-worker, noticing Alex's high energy and physical build for his age, encouraged him to try kickboxing. Initially, he treated the invitation as something unimportant, merely a way to pass the time and perhaps escape monotony. However, when he first stepped into a neighborhood gym and onto the mat, something inside him awakened. Even without any technique, Alex displayed impressive strength and a natural aptitude for striking. His first trainers quickly realized he was different. He didn't just have raw talent, but also a rare determination. When he started training, Alex gave it his all, even if it meant finishing exhausted, with calloused hands and aching muscles. To him, every punch and kick was more than just a movement. They were a cry of resistance against the tough life he was living. The career as a fighter. In the beginning, Alex faced many obstacles. He didn't have money to buy training equipment such as gloves or protective gear, and often relied on borrowed or improvised materials. Additionally, his struggle with alcohol addiction remained a stumbling block, affecting his health and hindering his progress. However, as he became more involved in the sport, he began to realize that he needed to change. Gradually, his passion for kickboxing replaced the space alcohol once occupied, and Alex made a conscious decision to quit his addiction and fully dedicate himself to fighting. The moment Alex realized he could pursue a career in the sport came during his first amateur competitions. Even when facing more experienced and well-trained opponents, he not only won but also impressed everyone with his immense strength and natural instinct for combat. With each fight, his name began to circulate among trainers and promoters, and Alex started to envision a future that once seemed impossible. Determined to take the sport seriously, he began training intensely, often 2 or 3 times a day. Still without significant resources, he made sacrifices to maintain his routine, such as enduring overcrowded buses to train at distant gyms or taking odd jobs to afford basic supplements. Over time, he became a respected figure in the kickboxing circuit, racking up victories and earning the nickname Poatan, a reference to the power of his strikes, which felt like stones crushing his opponents. The transition to MMA came years later, when Alex was already an established champion in kickboxing. The decision to enter a new discipline was challenging, but he knew that to reach the top of the fighting world, he needed to broaden his horizons. With the same dedication he had shown at the start of his journey, Poatan immersed himself in grappling, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu training, adapting to the complete style required in MMA. In kickboxing, he amassed a record of 33 wins in 40 fights, with 21 of those by knockout, numbers that highlight his finishing power. Competing in Glory, the world's largest kickboxing organization, he made history by becoming the first athlete to win titles in 2 simultaneous weight classes, middleweight and light heavyweight. Among his most notable victories were his knockouts against Israel Adesanya, one of the best fighters in the discipline, which helped solidify his reputation as a legend in the sport. In MMA, Alex continued his successful trajectory with a record of 8 wins in 9 fights, 6 of which were by knockout. His UFC debut was a milestone, and he quickly stood out for the overwhelming power of his strikes. The pinnacle came in 2022, when he defeated Israel Adesanya once again, this time in the octagon, in an epic fight for the middleweight title. In the 5th round, with a precise combination of punches, Poatan claimed the belt and cemented his legacy in MMA. The fighter had won the fans' hearts, numerous awards, multiple records, and had become a phenomenon in the fighting world. However, during a difficult moment in his personal life, he faced several controversies due to his struggle with alcohol addiction. As Alex Poatan grew up in the countryside of São Paulo, he knew he needed to work to help his family. Even without much interest in school, he found a tire repair shop where he could earn money and occupy his time. It was simple work, but it gave him a sense of purpose. He dedicated himself to the job, learned quickly, and gradually gained his independence. The tire shop became his foundation, something that kept him on the right path while the world around him was full of temptations and dangerous roads. His older brother, Angelo, who was a year and 7 months older, followed a different trajectory. While Alex focused on work, Angelo, without a clear direction, got involved with the wrong crowd. He began hanging out with people involved in drugs and trouble, and without a job or anything to occupy him, he drifted further from a safe life. Although they grew up together, the two took very different paths, and Alex still doesn't fully understand why that happened. Tragedy struck early. At 17 years old, Angelo was murdered in São Bernardo do Campo. On that day, he was with a problematic group of people and was warned to leave, but he chose to stay by the side of a friend who was in danger. Unfortunately, both were killed. The news was devastating for Alex, who lost his brother in a way that seemed impossible to prevent. Angelo's life, marked by poor choices, came to a tragic end. Recognizing that he needed something to pull him away from his addiction, Alex became interested in kickboxing, a martial art that seemed to match his energy and penchant for fighting. Without ever having had a sports role model in his family, he started training but still needed to work to support himself. He returned to the Vila Nova tire shop and began dividing his time between training and hard labor. Neri's support was crucial. When Alex decided to dedicate more time to the sport, he asked his boss to work part-time. Neri not only agreed but also helped him financially, paying a full salary for months, even though Alex was working only part of the day. It was a gesture Alex never forgot, an essential push that allowed him to pursue his dream. Between training and work, Poatan began leaving his addiction behind, laying the foundation for a journey that, years later, would lead him to become a champion. Today, the fighter is more than just a champion in the ring. He is a symbol of resilience and overcoming adversity. He shares his story as both a warning and an inspiration to others facing similar battles, showing that even in the darkest of times, it is possible to find a path to transformation. The pain of losing his brother remains an emotional wound, but also serves as a constant reminder of his mission: to honor his brother's memory and live a life that inspires others to overcome their own challenges. Currently, he competes in the UFC's light heavyweight division, where he continues to impress with both his performance in the octagon and his life story. Poatan is known for his calm and confident demeanor, reflecting the discipline he found in martial arts and the transformation he underwent in overcoming alcohol addiction and the loss of his brother. Outside the octagon, Alex is a public figure who inspires millions of fans around the world. He shares his journey as a message of resilience, emphasizing the importance of never giving up, no matter the adversities faced. Poatan also takes pride in his indigenous roots, often celebrating his cultural heritage as part of his identity and a source of strength. What about you? What do you think of this iconic fighter? Share your opinion, subscribe to the channel, and leave your like. That's it for today's video. A big hug, and see you next time.